everyone, I'm Gisele Grenier from artplace.ca, and today I'd like to talk to you about how to make a journal out of your weekly flyers. Now, I was going to do this as one of my under 10 demos, but it takes a lot longer than 10 minutes to do this. So, we'll get started. So, every week we get all these flyers, and I thought, well, why not make an art journal out of it? And somebody would say, oh, would you just go out and stop being so cheap and just go out and buy yourself a journal? That's not my way. I will recycle as much as possible, and if I can't recycle, I will go out and I will buy a sheet of watercolor paper and make my own journal, and I'll bind it from scratch because that way it's truly my own creation. So I'm going to show you this. Now, this is a flyer set from Fortino's, and it's stapled, so I could actually use this without actually binding it. But I've got pieces that I've already prepared to show you. These pieces would actually be bound, and I'm going to have another demonstration on doing binding. So with this here, the first thing you got to do is I'm going to use some gesso, and I'm using Primalba gesso, not Prima gesso. Prima gesso is a little bit thinner. The actual Primalba white gesso is very, very thick, and it's ground marble, which has titanium white pigment in it. So what this will do to the actual newspaper is it's going to stiffen up the paper, so it'll be a stronger foundation to actually create your painting studies, your techniques, your pochodes, okay, whether you want to do it as your formal journal, whatever you want to do, it'll create a stronger base for it. Okay, so you need a lot of room on your table, but what you can do with this is that if you want, you can actually lay wax paper under here, or the ideal thing is you work on many of these at a time because it does take time to dry. So what you can do is you can actually open it up like this, and you can do 2 pages at a time. And when that's dry, then you can do these 2 pages and then these 2 pages, but just put wax paper underneath so they don't stick. To save time, I'm just going to work on one sheet and then I'll go on. So the first thing I want to do is just do a light spray on this, and again, you would be doing this open. I'm just going to get that damp. And I'm just going to go into my gesso, and I'm just going to put a coat. Oh, before I started this, I put on some painter's glove on my hands. Okay, it's actually branded under the Bob Ross label. And what that does is, as I'm getting gesso and paint all over the place, it just makes my hands easier to clean up. Times where I don't remember to do that, I just use 1000+ stain remover to clean up my studio, and at the same time then my hands will get clean. I like to just create art. I don't want to worry about cleaning up as I'm going. Okay, so there we go. So we've got some nice, and you notice I'm not being fluid and all this. I just splat it on because it creates some texture. Just using a big nylon brush. Okay, now what? Well, first of all, put that in some water. Gonna put this aside, and then what you end up with, now I have some that are already done. What you end up with is a flyer, newspaper, that's like this. Just close that. Okay. And now this is one from the actual community newspaper, and I thought that'd be great because I'm going to basically be doing a full piece out of this for the Earth Hour online event I'm hosting, and you can get more information about that at artplace.ca, and I'll also have the videos available for anybody to watch free of charge in case you don't get to see it live. So I've got this, and this is actually going to be hand stitched. That's for another video. So you got this. Now what you want to do is, I've got all this paper towel. Now these paper towels are left over when I create, watercolor paintings, acrylic, not oils, okay, not oils. And what I do is, as I'm painting, I wipe my hands, I clean my table, clean my palette, but I keep the paper towels. I'm not being cheap. I'm recycling. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and the first thing I got to think of is, in this journal, okay, I need to strengthen the spine because I'm going to have to be binding it. So, and now this is where you need some type of glue. Now, I don't use white glue for this. I use medium. Because everything is being done in acrylics, I like to stay with the acrylics, okay, which is a polymer emulsion. I like to stay with all of that. There's two products you can use. Well, there's actually more than that, but these are the ones I've used, and I'll show you. I did a boo-boo and it actually worked. So I've got Prima Gloss Extender Gel. I like using this as my adhesive. This actually just extends the drying time of acrylic paint, but I like using this because it's thick. I can thin it down with a little bit of flow medium or water to make it move, and then this will seal everything. You can get it gloss, satin, matte, but I like the gloss because it doesn't cloud anything, and I can also use this to repel ink for different techniques. I thought, I'm always about experimenting, so I thought, what if I use fabric medium? Now, fabric medium is meant for you to paint on fabric. Some you heat set, some you don't. This one you have to heat set, and then you can wash it, and the paint is permanent. Well, the whole thing of fabric medium is so the paint doesn't feel hard on fabric. Well, what if I took paper towel and used the fabric medium as my glue? And it worked. Like, I'm not going to put this in the washing machine, but it works. So as an emergency, I know I can use fabric medium as my glue. So I've got all this paper towel, and what I'm going to do first is just using my brush. I don't really even need to clean it, okay? You can also use gesso as the glue, but I like using the mediums better because they're transparent. So I'm wetting the surface of my newspaper, my gessoed newspaper. And then I'll show you with the fabric medium, I could just put a little bit down there, and you want to cover everything. Okay, that's with the fabric medium. If I'm using the gloss extender gel, all I'm going to do is go right into my container, and I'm just going to do this. Okay. Now, if I'm doing a lot, like I do a lot of these at the same time, and then I just put them on my drying rack, I will take an empty container, I take an empty container, put some gloss extender gel in it, put a bit of flow medium in there, which will make it a little bit thinner, and it just makes it a little bit easier to manage. Okay, so I'll just do this and cover that up like that. Okay, you want to make sure you've got glue, or the gel medium everywhere. Okay, then take your newspaper. Now I want to strengthen the spine. Now these newspapers, there were 2 plies, so I split the plies up. And I'm just going to put this right in the spine. Now I've already scored the paper. I don't know if you can see that score. I just took a ruler with a bone folder and I just scored it so it makes it easier to bend. Okay, and all I'm going to do is just put on, and this one's torn, I don't care. If it wrinkles, I don't care. The more texture, the better. Okay, so you're just going to do that. You can be as neat as you want. You can be as messy as you want. This is basically just going to strengthen the newspaper. All right, then a little bit of water, and you basically repeat the process. Now I'm being pretty fast with this to save time for video, but you do that. And if you're using the gel medium, spray with a little bit of water first. Then take some gel medium and go right on top. And this will seal everything so it becomes one piece. Okay, now I'm just going to carefully move this aside, and I'll grab a piece that I've already prepared. Okay, so now these are ones that I've already prepared. Now you can see that they're quite sturdy. Okay, and basically with this, because I've already got the score in there, is that they'll be folded. Okay, they'll be folded. I mean, this one's kind of funky. I actually just squirted some gesso on this. And then these will become my signatures. And then I will actually bind these. And this particular weekly flyer, I think, is 7 individual pages. So I will create them as individual signatures because they're going to be so thick. Okay, so this is look how thick this is. Okay, that's just from a newspaper. Okay, then I can build on top of this, Now, if you were just going to do this as a regular, you're just going to gesso your pages and just do, your paper towels and just paint, you could probably put and a single piece of folded paper is called a folio. Multiple folios folded together that are like this is called a signature. If you're not going to build collage on this, you could probably put 2 into your signature. But because with my journals I never know what I'm doing, I like to make them as individual signatures. Now with this as well, if you didn't want to create an art journal, you can cut the paper and then you can actually that could be your piece to paint on. And all you would do is just mount it onto a piece of masonite and put it into a frame, once you create your painting. Okay, so that is that. Now I just want to show you an actual journal that I'm actually working on for other demonstrations. So this is one now with this is Terra Skin that I've bounded together. And so here's a piece of paper towel that I've used for texture. In another video I used a napkin. Okay, this is with paper towel. This is just paper towel that I used with watercolor and acrylic. I have no idea. Okay, and here's another one. This is with, I believe it was with ink and, no, I was doing this with watercolor because I see some salt in here. Okay, so that's another one. And this is just my foundations. This is my foundation, my building my base, and this is for texture. This here, what is this? This is baby wipes. Huggies baby wipes. Now this one here, I actually took the baby wipe, rinsed it out with water, and I mounted it the same way with the extender, the gloss gel. This one here has ink in it. Okay, same thing. And this is for the actual texture. And then what's this one? That's paper towel as well. Oh, and the other ones, that's a secret. I have to show you those in another video. Okay, but there's some nice texture. Now, when it comes time to working with these textured pieces, that will be, again, in another free video that I'm doing. But this particular one is just to show you how you can create some really nice textured backgrounds with paper towel. But more important, how you can use your weekly flyers to create a journal, and what a better way of recycling material. You can create yourself something that you can create some art on, and all you have to do is invest a little bit of time. So join me for the next video, and as always, stay inspired.